Hey everybody, welcome back to the Quest for the Bestest. It's the podcast from Backlot Banter where we review every single Palme d'Or winner in random order. We're talking about the Cannes Film Festival, and today, as you saw on our little addendum to the last episode, we are talking about this year's most recent winner. I guess this year's winner, aka the most recent winner. There's only one winner a year nowadays, which would be Jafar Panahi's film, It Was Just an Accident. I know some Farsi speakers, and so I'm just not even going to try to say this in Farsi because that is foolish of me to do that.
A fool's errand.
It's got an English title. We're calling it that. That's from 2025.
I was doing some errands today. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, man. We're trying things.
We're shooting stuff out there. I am excited to talk about this film. It's the new Palme d'Or winner. We believe that this film will end up as a Best Picture nominee. Our most wise sages have looked into the crystal
We convened
ball.
the council, and they have made a decision.
Guys, we can just spell it out. We have connections in the Academy who are rigging the nominees for us. So it's going to be this. It's going to be Minecraft movie. It's going to be let's see. Hang on. Could we get one more funny one? That'd be good. That'd be good as a
Avatar
funny
3,
Best Picture
baby.
Nominee. Avatar
here's
3.
Here's the thing. I think we ought to just be honest. We have Tanner, who, the way that the general public has Puxatani Phil.
Yeah.
And instead of asking the groundhog if the Name Week's a winner, we ask Tanner what's going to be nominated for Best Picture, and we pre-record episodes.
Tanner does a little groundhogging, if you know what I'm saying.
I do a little ground, and you know what? I somewhat resent this because I like to think I'm right more than 40% of the time, which I believe is Phil's.
Yeah, he doesn't have a good average.
No, you would think that with two options, he'd be averaging at least around 50, but he is not.
You would think that another groundhog would usurp him, actually, with an average that low.
Well,
the law
there is
of
no,
it's a lineage, though. It's a lineage.
There is no free market of ideas in the groundhog prognostication game.
But you know where there is a free market of ideas? Right freaking here on this show. Let's talk about It Was Just an Accident. I'll remind you from last time what we did. We had the Cillian Murphy starring Ken Loach film, The Wind That Shakes the Barley, little Irish tale. It got an 8.9, went at spot number 14 on the list, so that's pretty good. There are, just for your own countenance, there's 64 films on the list right now, and at the end of the episode, there'll be 65. So we are cruising through. We got about a third of the films left to go. But as you know, dear audience, because you are intelligent and sensitive to these things, it's Best Picture season.
It's
so we're going to be
well groomed, and I mean, man, that cologne
they smell
you're
pretty
wearing
nice
is
too.
quite,
all of this and more. So we're going to be kind of pivoting a little bit. This is our crossover episode, but we'll be in nominee territory as we do every year, as we love to do it. But we're just going to do it a little different this year and not cram all of it into a couple weeks and enjoy ourselves a little more, because that's what we're supposed to do with these films is
the
watch
goal
and enjoy.
Is still to review each of the nominees, even as we predict them before they actually come out before the ceremony, just to mine out Oscar season.
You know, if we're
what
wrong,
we actually do,
go ahead.
We record about 20 episodes.
Yes, yeah.
The 20 films we think might get nominated.
And we'll only release the
we
ones
really
that do.
cast a wide net.
Last year we did 20, and then we still had to do another 7 episodes when the nominees got announced.
Exactly. So that's where the Puxatani Phil comparison comes in.
Well, Abram, do we have any comments? I know we're a little ahead of schedule for the most recent episode to be out, but anybody got something interesting to say?
I'm going to be honest. There is
got to look.
nary a comment.
Not to single.
Nary.
There's not even a comment on the Avatar 3 review.
That's not true, is it? There's at least one comment on there.
Is there? Did I do something wrong here? Oh,
you might have to...
I sorted by unresponded.
Yeah. You need to turn that off. I believe Tucker was in the comments section responding to the one person who commented on that video.
He's fighting with them.
Yeah. Phil the Pill replied.
Yeah.
Well, he was fighting with them at that point.
Actually, this is such inside baseball. I don't even know what these comments mean. I don't know what they're talking about.
Okay, fair enough. Don't read it out.
Here's what I'm going to do. Let me give a comment, okay?
Okay.
All right.
From my heart.
Wait, yeah.
I don't know when this video is being posted. I don't want the answer. Don't tell me.
Okay.
However, I think that when you're watching this video, it either is or is soon to be 2026. Here's my comment. I wish you a happy and prosperous new year.
Wow.
Wonderful.
Wow.
Or if you're watching this way in the future, a prosperous old year.
Hope it went well.
But went well.
And if you're watching this like a long time from now and it wasn't a good year, well then you fucked up. You should listen to
It's your
my
fault.
well wishes and take them to heart.
That's on you.
So.
Alrighty, let's get back to the movie. It was just an accident. Tanner, will you give us a little plot synopsis of this film?
Certainly, Timo, certainly. So, this film takes place in modern-day Iran. It concerns largely the intrigue around a former political prisoner named Vahid, who believes that he has just by chance come across a old prison guard who imprisoned him and tortured him for several years when he was in prison in Iran for speaking out against the authoritarian regime there. He's never seen this man's face, but he knows the sound of his voice, and he, more importantly, recognizes the sound of the squeak of the prosthetic leg that this guard wore. So he kidnaps this man he believes to be the guard, takes him out to the desert, digs a grave, and just when he's about to kill him, some doubt crosses his mind, and he's like, I can't be sure that this is the man who did these things to me. So what he decides to do is travel back into the city and seek out some other folks who were also imprisoned and also tortured by this guard to see if they can confirm his suspicions. He gathers, a merry band, or I guess an unmerry band, if we can be honest with ourselves. And there's a lot of dueling ideologies here about whether or not violence is the answer, or whether or not this is confirmed has to be the guy, or if they can let him go, if what the ramifications of that would be outside of the moral ramifications on themselves. So I don't, this is one of the newer released films, so we'll give a spoiler warning here. We'll be talking about the entire film, beginning to end, kind of interspersed. So this is your spoiler warning for It Was Just an Accident, which I will say, Timo, if I may, is an excellent film.
Jump right into it. Go ahead.
Yeah, that I quite enjoyed. I rewatched it. I watched it about a month and a half ago, I would say, in theaters. Really enjoyed it and liked it a little bit more this time around. I am not as over the moon on it as people who are best of the year territory. But I think this is quite good. I think Panahi is a very interesting director. We can maybe get into a little bit the context of him creating this film in secret against the Iranian government's wishes, and how that plays into exactly what this film is about and its approach to depicting that regime and the people who sort of prop it up and torture people who speak out against it.
Yeah, alrighty. Who's next? Tucker, you're next. What did you think?
I think it's great. I think that a film with a unique premise that lets some characters discuss their thoughts is what I'm always in for. I think back to the film Mass from a few years ago. That was just about people with different perspectives.
Yeah, real talky movie. Yeah,
talking through why they feel different ways. And why I like this movie is it really does bring a lot of interesting moral and ethical questions into mind. And this movie isn't trying to answer any of these questions. It's allowing a group of characters with different perspectives just kind of hash it out. And you have people with different levels of temper, and people with different past experiences, and people with different thoughts on philosophy and religion and these kind of things. And all of that centered around a film that feels very genuine. Like, these characters are really believable people that have flaws and get angry and don't like each other and just want to live their lives. I think placing this sort of it is a film about the politics of Iran and of the of going against the government and that kind of thing. But that's kind of background text for what is ultimately a group of people who have a troubled past but are just trying to live their lives as normal citizens. And I think that allows a film that, again, has that sort of context of a darker, larger political theme to feel very relatable. You're able to put yourself in the shoes of, like, if I just ended up in this situation, my friends came to me, how would I feel about this? So I just was really enamored with it. I think the whole cast of characters' performances are excellent. And it's very totally unique because, again, I think this film feels a lot more grounded and believable in terms of the group of characters than other films with political themes like this might usually feel to me. It just feels like a group of people, just who I might find on the street that end up in this really
Well,
heightened and interesting situation.
just as context, because you did just bring that up, Tucker. These are basically all people that Panahi found off the street. These are all non-professional actors who this is
Oh
their
my
first
god,
feature
Wow.
film that they've been in. I believe
really
the
impressive.
actor, for Iqbal, has previously been in some work, as has Vahid. He's been in a couple of
Sure.
Panahi films previously, but
Mm.
otherwise the rest of the ensemble.
Abram, you're up next, and then I'll round us out.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really like it. I
Oh,
think I have a
okay.
lot more. I think I have a lot more respect for the film than I have a lot of investment in it. I think that it doesn't capture me. I don't think I was really invested in it until maybe the last 30 minutes or so, which I think are excellent. And I
Mm.
think that for me, by the end, it's worth it. But I sort of found the first hour kind of inert. I don't know. I'd like to get more into that, but I think I just have a lot more respect for the wider political context within which Panahi made the film. And again, I think that the ending of it, and in a sense, I really mean the last 30 minutes or so, are so potent that in the end, I hit the credits and I was sort of stunned there for a moment. Um, but it took a long time for me to connect to it.
Well, I would say I'm definitely more in Tucker and Tanner's camp. I thought this is a really excellent film. My like kind of log line for my thoughts is that I think this is just like such a unique and humanist take on the revenge film. If we think about this as, most of our characters in the film, what do they want and need? Revenge. But do they get it? I think that's the question at the end of the film is asking, sort of answering, and leaves us in this just really, really profound space towards the end of the film. I do agree with you, Abram. I think that the beginning is a little slow. It wrapped me into it in this way of us almost imagining, us as an audience, despite watching and listening to the film, we are kind of blindfolded to the truth. And what really is the truth takes a long, long time to come out in the film. And I really like the placement of our sympathy and the kind of who is our stand-in character for the viewer. Like who are we immediately recognizing and rooting for throughout the film? Because it changes, of course. We start by, I think, rooting for Ekbal. We're like, he's who is the film is presenting as this kind of
Hmm.
main character. It's like, here's the main character who we care about. We're like, okay, we begin to care about him. But as the film builds and we end up in this, in these early scenes, I think that the construction of doubt in our minds as viewers, plus in the minds of the characters as we see them, is a really a profound filmmaking tool to play with. And I just really like that kind of change as we go further and further into the film, where I myself am questioning, what have I heard? What do I believe? What do I think? What is like my interpretation of this situation? Do I think that he really is the prison guard? Or do I think that they got the
Yeah.
wrong man? Which is, I think, our dramatic tension that's pulling us plot wise through the film for a lot. But like Tucker says, there's a lot of character action in this movie too, that we have these varying different opinions on how to deal with the situation, all informed from this very nebulous, traumatic past that the film is not interested in explaining beyond kind of what happened and who remembers what. So I think I enjoyed this one quite a lot. Um, yeah, a really excellent, well made film all around. And to think that it's, very verboten in Iran to watch this movie, that Panahi is not allowed to go back into his country as a result of this film. Um,
Yeah.
it certainly adds something to my understanding of the film, even though I probably will, there's two things to keep separate: the objective or the film within itself value, or praise or denigration, and the film
Textual and
plus,
metatextual value.
yeah, exactly.
But I actually think that it would be important, Tanner. I assume you've done your research
A little bit,
to
yeah. I
explore
can
what that story is, that metatextual story is, as context for our conversation here.
certainly, I'll give the Cliff's Notes version quickly. Panahi, along with a couple other Iranian directors of note, have been embroiled with the government and censorship for the better part of 20 years. Panahi has really become a figurehead of this problem, of this sort of back and forth, this issue. He has, from what I saw, the real like um global consideration of these issues have dates back to like the late 2000s. So he has been dealing with this for like 15 years. Received a he's received a number of prison sentences for his work in film and making quote unquote propaganda against the regime, as the Iranian government calls it. Um, as well as I believe he's still under order to not make or work on any films. Of course, he has continued to do that. He received that in like 2009, 2010. He was
Mm,
told not to write, produce, direct, or otherwise work on films for the next 20 years. And he has, of course, made like 5 or 6 films in that time,
Mm-hmm.
including very cleverly while he was under house arrest around that time in 2010 to 2011. He made a film called "This Is Not a Film," a little bit of thumbing the nose at the Iranian government there.
sure.
But no, um, he has been, both able and unable to leave Iran as a result of his work here. He received some prison sentence in 2002, which he served several months on. Went on hunger strike and then was subsequently released. He of course, has a crack legal team at this point to, fight all this stuff in the Court of Appeals and things like that. And most recently, just a couple weeks ago, actually, as a result of this specific film, again, made a film that is speaking out against the Iranian government,
Hmm,
received another 2-year prison sentence. He is currently not in Iran, to my knowledge, as he is working, and promoting this film in the awards season circuit, but has said that he will be returning to Iran and will serve out his prison sentence if need be. His legal team will be appealing that prison sentence that he just received a couple of weeks ago, and basically affirming that like he will not be scared off from returning to his home country because of the government there, and he will continue to make films if he is able, in secret, like he made this one, as he needs to do, because the government again will not allow him to work on films in the country officially.
Mhm, mhm. That just kinda dovetails into some of the kind of wry elements of this film that are, like, I think, a bit more on the surface level, but are these, like, very anti-regime elements that I think play as comedic beats. All the bribes that are needed to be handed out and taken
Hmm.
in this country,
I
um,
really noted that this time around.
that,
Yes,
like,
the number of times people were like, how about a little gift, huh? How about a little gift
how
from
about a
me?"
little some on top? And the nobody it's an electronic society, so nobody has any cash, but they have the
Hmm.
card readers. I
The
just was
note
like,
of the cops being like, "Oh, don't worry, I have a card terminal in my pocket."
and I was thinking about all like the tech and the infrastructure to
Uh-huh.
make that work, but like just as an outsider, as a white guy who really doesn't know anything about Iran, especially from the inside perspective of it, other than what I hear on the BBC World News Service, which is just, usually wrong. Um, this is very, very interesting to see. This, it's poking fun at, but it's also, I think, laying bare some of the idiosyncrasies of this society that then the rest of the story takes place in. And if I were the government, I'd be like, hell no, you can't put that in the movie, which is why it's great.
Certainly.
Yeah, I think that the uh context of this film is really interesting, but I also think that plays into the film in an interesting way in that we watch a lot of films for specifically the Palme d'Or series where it is about people rebelling against their government or people living in governmentally difficult times. And I can often find those films a little bit tough to get into if I'm not familiar with the culture or with the political context of the time. Like you, Timo, I don't know too much about modern day Iran and the government and the people that are fighting against it. Uh, and I think this film actually plays into that in an interesting way where I almost don't know how much that matters to enjoy the film
Yeah.
because it doesn't have any explicitly like currently political scenes. We don't see the torture sequences. We see like some police officers. We don't see like any shots of an active war or anything like that. We don't see an active rebellion. There's no insurgencies or anything like that. This is about people who were tortured for doing propaganda and now are living their lives. You could apply that to any culture at any point in time. And it's really just about the moral and ethical ramifications of revenge on someone who tortured you in the past. And I like how the movie exists within its own culture, and I'm sure it is a lot richer in terms of the interactions and the phrasing and things like that. If you are familiar with the current political climate and a deeper culture of Iran, but even as someone who isn't familiar with much of that, I think I got just enough of a glimpse into okay what makes this society distinct, but not too much to where for me as an outsider who doesn't live there, doesn't know the culture, I didn't feel like I was missing anything. I felt like I was given just enough because it's important to the characters, but they leave it vague enough to where I'm like, I get what matters. They don't dive too deep into it. All the characters know what's going on, and they give you just enough to be familiar and to get what the real meat of this movie is, at least in my eyes, which is about that moral and ethical conversation between the characters. And so that is, I think, a really smart decision in order to make this a more accessible film, right? If it was more seriously about the specific conflicts and culture of where the movie is set, I think it might be a little more difficult uh, to get a worldwide audience to appeal to it. But this movie strikes a really great balance that I think is one of the cleverest elements of the screenplay of this film, specifically.
Yeah. I mean, Tucker, you're absolutely right that and I'm sure a majority of what we will, a majority of the time we spend in this discussion will be about the moral, ethical questions that this film sort of argues and molds over. But I think you also hit the nail on the head a little earlier when you said that the film is. Hang on, I totally just lost my train of thought here. Uh, it's something that you said earlier, but the characters wanting to like move on with their lives. I think that's
Sure.
also really key to everything that's going on here. And as much as the film is about these ethical conundrums, it is also about like these people are still anchored by these experiences that they all shared, and sometimes that binds them together, and sometimes, especially in the case of Hamid, it can really make you very confrontational and shut people off and be very mean and accusatory of others, just because you have this ingrained paranoia about how everyone is perhaps an informant or a coward to some extent. So I think, yeah, it's about these people needing and wanting so badly to move on with their lives, but when Vahid shows up and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure I have the guy who caused us all this massive trauma tied up in the back of my van." They're like, it also just comes crashing through their mental gates again, being like, well, I have the ability, I have the opportunity to get this closure now, and even if it's not true, I need to convince myself that it is so I can move on, because I haven't been able to. And you get that sense out of all these characters that they have not been able to move on from these experiences.
I would say, well, Abram, go ahead if you got something,
Yeah.
because I got
Yeah,
a
I
big
think this
topic area
is
to jump to.
I think this is sort of maybe the heart of our difference in how we view the film, because I'm just not persuaded by any of these characters as people. I'm
Mm,
persuaded by them as stand-ins for ideologies, and I think that when you have the whole group together for the latter portion of the film, and they're all in opposition, the text becomes very rich to me. But Um, I don't feel like I have enough to view them as people who have moved on and are now pulled back into something. To me, I I think that this movie is very functional. I think the the plot unfolds as it needs to, and these characters who we see for perhaps a scene living this normal life that they're getting back to, we have to take that as enough context um, before they're sort of brought onto the plot and brought in to try to figure out if this person is or is not Ekbal. And I think that I always figured that it was. I don't really
sure.
see how the film works if it's not. And at the same time, I yeah, like yes, I get that Shiva has this this work now, a more normal life where she is working as a photographer. I understand that Goli and Ali are moving on and they're getting married. They're opening this new chapter. We see where Vashid is working before. I understand that they have these lives, but I understand that only insofar as it's a functional context to know that they have moved on. I don't really feel any conflict ever there. And I understand, of course, that to your point, Tanner, part of the way the movie is operating is to say, okay, well, this trauma that presides over our characters is so potent that whatever little snippets of this normal life we do see are completely secondary to figuring out if this is or isn't Ekbal. But to me, I guess that doesn't really feel like it's enough. I don't really feel like I have an understanding of these characters. I think that the moments when I do all come at the end of the film. I think the ending is very haunting. This moment when we're trapped, hearing the creaking of Pegleg walking behind Vashad, and I'm in their head, and I'm with the family, like I'm understanding the collision of that normal life with the revelation that they've found Ekbal. But I don't feel that for the first 45 minutes, 50 minutes of the film. I don't feel like the film presents a strong enough status quo that is then upset because we're immediately into the plot of Pegleg, pretty much from the second major sequence in the film.
Yes.
Here's what I'll say about that. I think that I can totally understand that, but I do think that that's to the opposite of what you said. I think that the movie is structured the way it is, which leads to you saying that, with the goal in mind of making it more or less clear if it is actually Ethel or not, if the guy is actually the torturer, because it does establish a status quo. It establishes Ekbal's status quo, and he is a parent with a kid who's having a lot of fun, and they've got a baby on the way, and they accidentally run over an animal of some sort, and his car's breaking down. He is established with enough context. They're coming from some sort of concert or family outing. Like you get enough.
He's
of
established
him
with positive context too, things that we make us
exactly.
think. I mean, except for the dog, which is that first moment of doubt in us. But at least for me, it's like all these points are racking up on the this is a normal good dude scale. Which, of course, later on, it's like he admits to it, and we are proven that he is
Yeah, yeah,
Ekbal later. But for a long time.
yeah.
So yeah, I hear what you're saying, but I just don't really agree because I think that something I was asking myself as the film is going on is what is the function of the cold open of the film? Because we cold open with Ekbal and his wife and their child in the car, where he runs over a dog. He runs over a wild dog and kills the dog. And to him, that violence is, it just
Functory.
is what it
It's
is.
just whatever.
And to him and to his wife, and I think that to me, I asked the question, why are we starting this way? Well, I think we're starting this way because we're indicating that this is a character who is able to create through him and his wife this permission structure to do violence, and it's largely it is what it is. Oh, the dog jumped out in front of the car, so now the dog is dead. It's not our fault. We move on. I think that this sort of like apathy we see from his character to me immediately indicated that he's the guy. This is a guy
There's also
for whom
class indications. He's clearly wealthier
Yeah.
than everybody else in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have an iPad kid.
They have an iPad.
They do
kid.
have an iPad. Well, here's the
Yes.
question I have for you. As
Yeah.
I've rewatched
you, me, or you, Abram?
you all of you.
Oh,
All
y'all.
y'all.
There's a word for that.
Yeah, all of you. So I rewatched this film. This is the second time I've seen it. So I was curious, actually, going into a conversation with people who are all watching it for the first time. First of all, did you guys know what this movie was about when you hit play?
I intentionally, when you're on the website and it kind of gives you some log lines or whatever, just like, right, give me right past that. No, I don't really need
when
to
did
know.
when did it click for you exactly what was going on? Did it take until basically
The car door gets,
wait.
or no, it's until he's stalking. It's like he wakes up at the, there's all this stuff about the van. I was ultimately extremely confused about the logistics of who needs the van when, and then I just, go, okay, well, I'm confused, and I keep sitting there and waiting, and then the film reveals itself that it is ultimately unimportant what happens, who has the van when.
Right.
It's like in that moment where I'm like, what is going on? And I kind of begin to, because all that activity in the repair shop where he's like, modifying his voice and
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
hiding from
Which I love.
view.
I love the his quick thinking moment. He's like, I need to make my voice sound different, so he just stretches out his mouth a
And
little
so
bit. It's
at
good.
that
That's
point,
good.
my head was at like this that Vahid's character was like some because of this. I guess it's kind of a misdirect, a red herring with the van.
Mm,
I was
Totally.
tricked to thinking that there was some drugs or some illicit activity needing to be moved around with the van, and that by Ekbal's intrusion and receiving the help from the well-to-do mechanic
mhm,
is putting him Ekbal's self in harm's way of a greater, larger operation. Um, that then is the reason why Vahim needs to go out and like silence him or kill him or whatever. Which I think is flimsy, like not
sure.
very.
So, yeah, so for you, Timo, it was not until like literally he's digging the hole out in the desert, and he
No,
basically
it's like in
lays
the
out,
car. It's like
"This
right
is
as
who you are."
he is gonna like. Yeah, it was then where he was like, "This is who you are and what you did."
Sure,
But
sure,
I
sure.
was
Where
kind of
like,
like picking up on there is maybe something a little deeper here when
yeah.
the like following stalking sequence kind of
Mhm.
extends.
So yeah, my asking that question was really just to understand like everything that happens before that, especially this opening scene in the car with Ekbal, is really just like backward thinking on it. I think because I came into this sort of watching this scene now knowing for certain that Ekbal is the traitor or is the not the traitor. He's the guard. He's the
Hmm.
torturer or whatever. And so I was really trying to pick out things that like either he was saying or his wife was saying that could, clue me into some stuff that Panahi was trying to do here with this character or lay the groundwork a little bit. And what are the first thing I have down, my first little bullet point is a line that his I think that he says where he says to his daughter that God put the dog on our path for a reason, and then his daughter responds with God he just killed a dog. God has nothing to do with it. I think that kind of points to the randomness, like the complete chance encounter that intersects Ekbal and Vahid in this moment. Is like he hits the dog, car gets busted, needs to take it to a shop. It just so happens to be the auto shop that a guy that he once tortured works at. Like it is maybe this divine intervention, or just or just act of complete randomness, complete coincidence that has made these two characters cross paths and will, ultimately, completely alter both of their lives, perhaps. Um, but I also started. It also tipped me off to a bit of running imagery that I want to continue to explore over this discussion because I do want to turn
Hmm.
it over to somebody else. The recurring imagery of the stray dog is something
Yeah.
that happens a lot in this movie. I don't really have a take or a thesis on it, but it's just something that I really tapped into this time around. But sorry, I talked for a long time there. I can turn it over to somebody else, but just my thoughts on like trying to piece things together on a rewatch this time around.
Hmm. I am
I
interested, Tucker, if you got something, but I'm interested about like the moral compass of this movie, plot wise and character wise. What our characters are willing to do and why, and what they are not willing to do and why. Because I think this film is like really clear about what the moral compass is. I find these moments, especially when we get to what's his name, the torturer's wife, um,
Hmm.
and we as good screenwriters do, take the tension and ratchet it up. And so we're already worried about all these like external consequences of like, oh, consequences for kidnapping and then trying to murder a guy. Like, surely the authorities aren't going to be very happy about this. And they, our merry band of revenge seekers needs to steel themselves or take action to prevent that. But then it's that this twist of we need to go save the wife for some reason.
Hmm.
It seems like it's for some reason, but I take some other lines from the film to really fill in all the character details in that. Um, all of our kidnappers, I guess I'm going to call the group, um, were imprisoned for. It's not exactly said if they're all the same thing, but at least one of them is imprisoned for like a strike for some labor
Yes,
activism.
Vahid was on like a labor strike kind of thing.
Hmm.
Shiva, it was said, was sort of in a gender-based protest. She was burning her
Oh yes,
hijab. She
recall the
mentions.
real life events. Has been real life tensions in Iran about hijab wearing and the government forcing that, and the
Hmm.
people really not wanting it. Um, and so, what these kind of little character details indicate to me is like a moral upstandingness to our group, despite the fact of what they're up to in the plot. And so then Panahi adds to that when it's time to when the phone call from the daughter comes in, she's crying and scared, and like these people are real people in that they aren't this like revenge motivated evil, like we are just gonna go do our thing, and like, oh, who cares about this little girl because she's a daughter of this guy that we hate. They like listen and react and then go and eventually help the wife into the hospital and have her give birth. And so these things uh to me read as a very very moral upstanding thing to do. um but in conversation with the I guess a thrust of their action. They're trying to kill, disappear, torture, to do whatever. They don't exactly know what they want to do to this guy, but they want to do something bad. They want to mess him up.
Hmm.
Versus like the goody, not goody two shoes, but like kind heartedness. Either they see it as a deflection against the authorities for their impending murder, or they do it because it is the right thing to do. What do you guys think of like the different kind of I guess I don't know thrusts of morality in the film?
I think the reason why I find this group of characters compelling is that they don't have a plan.
Yeah.
Is that in every other war movie that I've seen, that something like this happens, like, all right, we're gonna do the heist, right? We're gonna take down the
Hmm.
guy. Uh, Not only does he not have a plan, but and then part of the reason why I like that we don't get setups for these characters or too much of their day to day lives is it makes it, I think, much more feel like everyone's just stumbling into this scenario. And it's also the case that most of the characters aren't really familiar with each other. None of them know Vahid.
True.
I think
Yeah.
Shiva knows Hamid. Uh,
Hmm.
the Obviously Shiva knows Goli and Ali. Like,
Hmm.
I don't know how well. Like, they're the connections between them, all sharing this past but not really knowing one another. I think uh is what endears me immediately to them, because it's like, again, I mean, it puts me in their shoes of like, if someone I kind of knew came to me with this, like, what would I say? Obviously, I don't have that kind of background or like thrust where I would be motivated by some sort of past trauma to take on some sort of this sort of action. But uh, I think that I like that these characters are normal people, and normal people in the way of being relatable because they do largely do the things that you think would be reasonable to do. Of course, Hamid is a very aggressive person, but compared to him, I think he's definitely the outlier as compared to the rest of the group. Everyone else, I think, is very reasonable in their reactions, and uh, they feel like they're taking it as it comes. And so the morality of this is really uh, it's really like just trying to figure out what's going on, and not really having the time to think through it because you don't know what the consequences are going to be. You've kind of just been thrown into this, and I think that's what it makes the group of characters in this situation and makes this film so distinct to me. Is I don't feel like the movie's necessarily trying to make any one particular statement. It's like that's what these people did in this situation.
Hmm.
I just don't feel like there's any dramatic stakes to the relationship. And I'll give you a specific example because Tucker, I agree with you conceptually that I like the way that they are put in this situation where they sort of are one by one brought into it on the back foot. And to your point, I like that we only have that the character who's inciting all of this in Vahid doesn't have those relationships you're mentioning. There's no romantic history there, as there is between Shiva and Hamid or anything. But one moment I think of that to me, I was a little perplexed by is that at one point Hamid finds himself as the only one in the van with Eggball, and he tries to drive away with him. And he is presented, and why I find him to be maybe the most interesting character is that he's presented as the one that has the um, most clear of purpose philosophy on what to do. We just got to
Yeah.
kill this guy.
Yeah.
And I just don't really feel like the ideologies and the actions they take come to much of a dramatic head, because he tries to drive away in the van with Egg Bowl, and how does that reflect a straining of the trust in the group moving forward? I would argue that it doesn't really. I think that this is a bunch of characters who are differently polarized in this issue in interesting ways ideologically, but again, it comes back to me to this difference of them as stand-in for ideologies or characters in this situation. I feel like there's not this like forming of or breaking down of trust. When we're in direct conflict, like when we go back to the place where Vahid tried to bury him for the first time, and we have Goli giving this very intimate confession, I suppose, for lack of a better word, about exactly the ways that she was violated and tortured and treated by Pegleg, and we see her sort of walk down the other characters in that ways that moves me. I think that in scenes it really works for me, but I feel like the progression of the group, I don't feel that tension. I don't feel a mistrust or a changing of trust.
I see that there's one they like lock the car when what Hamid is they're gonna Vahid and Shiva are gonna go like walk away from the van, so they shut all the doors
Yeah.
and lock it. And this happens one time on screen.
Yeah, and like I understand that ultimately like these characters are united by a trauma that is so critical, and they're in such a peculiar position that they have no choice but to be united. But I just don't feel that as a viewer. I don't feel like there's much character work that's unfolding here that moves beyond the point of ideology. To me it's like what's suturing them together or ripping them apart. I'm just not sure. Again, I understand their ideologies, but I don't feel like the dramatic stakes of the relationships are moving to me.
Well, here's what I'm curious for you to describe is at what point when you get to know these characters, do you feel like they're an ideology or they are stand in for an ideology? Like it becomes clear. It's like, all right, here's the thing about them that is related specifically to their ideology. Because I personally find that kind of confusing because again, I think that as we stumble into these characters, we don't really know where Vishit is going for a lot of this stuff. He just kind of comes to these characters. We don't know who they are. He doesn't know them. They until it like push comes to shove and there's like a big argument, which happens a couple of times throughout the movie. Uh, it's a lot of these characters being ripped out of their lives and putting themselves back into that mind space. And so I don't know I don't know exactly what almost any of their specific ideologies are because we only get to see what 7 or 8 hours out of their life on this
Yeah.
one very insane day. And so I I think that to me makes it harder for me to see them as stand-ins for ideologies when the movie I think very clearly sets up uh, them being like forced into this situation and like I think Hamid is the only one where I'm like okay I know exactly to your point like he's very clear and motivated
Yeah.
in what his intentions are but everyone else kind of waffles a few times they and especially Bashid who I think is a very interesting protagonist for us
Yeah.
to follow because he's kind of just this like doofy guy.
Can I
I'm like, I
throw
don't
something in
know
here?
what his I don't know what his ideology is other than he's like I feel
Yeah.
very strongly about this. He doesn't know how he feels about it. He's figuring it out as he goes along. And that's kind of how I feel about Shiva, who's a little bit more clear-headed, Goli, who's less clear-headed, her husband, who's just roped into all of this, figuring out as he goes along. I really don't see them as anything more than just people who have ideologies, sort of, but none of them are like explicitly this is what they're
Mhm.
going for. Kind of person.
I'm going to tie it right back to their trauma that they are not torturers. They are not captors. That these people beyond when they were in prison, they were not doing the torturing. And before they were in prison, they were activists or whatever. They did stuff to anger the regime. So it was probably okay. And so I think that's this kind of like, I don't really. There's a lot of ways you could be for or against. Who knows? But that the way that they are acting, now in the majority of the plot of the film is that they are kind of captors and torturers, or at least that's what they think they want to do, on like the forefront of their mind. But as we get to this very intense, I think this wonderful scene at the end when they tie Ekbal up and they're like, it's just Shiva and Vahid going at him. And he's like, "You're not gonna do it. You're not gonna kill me. You can't. You're not like me." And I think
Well,
that is he doesn't say you're not like me, right? But he's like, what do you think?
He says they not like us, and then he goes ba ba.
He's had something insightful to say.
Yeah, I thought you.
I think it's important to note he says that to Vahid when Shiva comes in. Shiva comes in from the fucking top rope with the steel chair.
Bam.
And she fucking puts the irons to him. Yeah. Thank you. The steel slap, very good. But she puts the irons to him, where first of all he's completely thrown off guard because he's largely been unconscious for most of this movie, and so he seemingly doesn't know there were like other people all crowded into this van driving all around the city with him and into the desert. And so he's completely thrown off guard. He thinks that he's got, his dynamic with Vahid figured out, and he's like, I got this guy's number. He's not gonna do anything.
I'm lying to him. All this. Kind of stuff.
Yeah. I'm pulling him right along. I got him right where I want him. And then Shiva comes in. He's like, oh shit, this is a variable I have not accounted for. She's clearly like more like she comes in like really hot, really angry. To the point where like he's initially trying to keep a cool head about things, but then he just completely totally devolves
and he folds
under her.
Like he folds under her.
Yeah, he does. But they still don't kill him.
And it's like
we can talk about the end.
We must talk about that. But okay. I do think that it's interesting that Ekbal has this like story. He's got a line, and he keeps that line from the very beginning. It's yeah, I just think it's so masterfully done how I root for this character for like what feels like half or more of the movie. And then by the time I'm at the end, I'm like, man, I was wrong.
Yeah.
But here's actually I think something to contextualize why I think this movie engaged me so much is, and maybe we just go around the horn and mention when / if there was a moment when you confirmed in your mind that the man they had captured was actually the man that had tortured them.
I was 12 Angry Men all the way through, man. I was like, I got a reasonable shred of doubt. It can't be known until the shred of doubt is burned or whatever. And it was the final. It was when he was tied up and he admits it. I was like, oh, I guess what I wanted was not gonna happen. He really did do all this terrible stuff.
When was it for you, Tucker?
For me, it was that moment. But again, like Vahid, I needed outside confirmation. I looked at the plot summary on Wikipedia, and it was like, okay, he actually confesses, and he is that guy. Because I thought there was a chance, even as he was confessing, that I'm like, he's just doing that to like save his own skin, giving them what they want. And that's kind of what I think made this film so engaging to me. Is I was really unsure, even in the moments when like one of the most intense moments when he like touches his leg and like flips out. There was a large thing going through my mind of like, Hamid's maybe just like, it's like confirmation bias, right? He's like, he wants this to be true.
Well, yeah, that's the vibe that Hamid immediately gives. Is he obviously he has this moment where he like feels his leg and he's like, I know that fucking like he maybe touched that leg for 10 years or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's definitely the vibe that Hamid gives. Is like he is so rearing to go to say that it is the guy that you're like, I just don't know if I believe him, you know?
Yeah. So I think that vagueness is from the first scene when we're more ingratiated to Ekbal's life, through the fact that we don't get to see the status quo of the majority of our characters. Even Vishay, we don't get that much far. I think all the way to the end, I needed outside confirmation to be like, oh, okay, that is what happened.
I just would have liked the character to be like, no, it's not him. Because nobody really does that. Because I don't actually again, I don't feel vagueness in this movie at all, personally, because I think that part of what makes this so haunting, the last 30 minutes of the film, which I love, is that the depth and specificity of the trauma that was imparted on our characters is unmistakable.
Mhm.
And so we know that they were deprived in these specific ways. And so we know that the particular sound of Pegleg's leg cannot
It's
be
just
forgotten or
triggering to him.
mistaken
Hmm.
by Vahid. We know that the position of the scar on the remain on Ekbal's other leg is
Uh-huh.
specific to the touch of Hamid, the smell of his sweat. We get all of these particular details. We are told that our characters can only know them through this way, and then all of the characters identify him in that way.
Hmm.
There's no character in the narrative that goes, no, it's not him.
But to Timo's comparison, they're very 12 Angry Men style confirmations, where it's like it's touch, it's sound, it's smell. These things are things that can be mistaken. Of course, there's the trauma associated with which, as proven by the end of it, has ground it into their psyche.
Hmm.
But with
What they're threatening to
Hamid,
do with this small amount of evidence, it's an
yeah,
imbalance, I
yeah,
guess. We're like
Yes.
we're
Yeah,
gonna kill this guy over this bad, not great evidence. Like, come on,
because
let's find
I
some
think
more.
that they, for the most part, Hamid excluded, even when they do have evidence, they're not 100% sure. And because of that, I don't think it would really make a lot of sense to have a character say, no, 100% it's not him, because they don't have any way to confirm 100% that it's not either.
yeah, but I just mean that, like, what if Hamid had touched the leg and, like, I feel like the scar was somewhere else. He
I
goes,
don't think that's
I
the function of Hamid's character, though. Hamid
sure,
is
but
is
but
he
but
is the wild card of the dynamic, and yeah. So sorry, I
yeah,
don't mean to interrupt you. Continue.
but I'll take it back to the beginning of the film. I think
Sure.
that, again, my disconnect is not in sloppy filmmaking, because I think it's exceptionally made. I think that my disconnect is in whether or not I'm able to buy into the dramatic stakes of the film. And I think the reason I'm not able to is if we go all the way back to when Vahid is on the phone with his mother, and here is the leg. I think that there's some really clever filmmaking done here, and brilliant acting to immediately signal to me that this is Pegleg, because I'm really interested in the way that the space is used to always obscure Pegleg's head, and the
Hmm.
film is very careful for a lot of the time to only have him exist verbally, or exist as this sort of very non-specific or cut up body. But we know that that body without a head, that sound immediately triggers Vahid's specific traumatic memory of who this person is,
Hmm.
enough to be masking his voice, enough for the camera to linger in the body. To me, I'm watching this in the filmic language, that this is who our main character says it is. And I think that that's very interesting. And so to me, why the film is what the end of the film is the most interesting is when, in my view, is when it comes to a head that our characters must reckon with what they've known all along. To me, it's not is it or isn't it. It's we all know that this is him, but we just need him to say it so we can be 1,000,000% sure. And to
Yeah,
me,
I
that's
mean,
not that's different. It's not.
sure,
I'm not instilled with a question. I'm waiting for a confirmation. I'm not trying to answer a question. I think
sure.
that's different.
Well, I think that is, if I may, I think that's what our characters feel deep down. Like, well, the question is, do they want to believe that? Do they want to believe their gut feelings or not? Do they want to just act on instinct like that, or are they thinking with a little bit more of a forward thinking sort of uh point of view? Or like, if it's not him, then what are the ramifications of that? I think that is the thing that they are all basically considering, is like, we do not want to kill an innocent man, even though all of our animal senses are pointing us to kill, kill, kill. This is the guy, this is the guy, this is the guy. They want to they want to move on from that point in their life and say like, okay, I can behave as a rational person and think this out and talk to this guy and get him to admit this. We are acting on a rational plane of existence right now.
Yeah.
Where I think politically, what Panahi is saying here is that like that is not where Ekbal and him as an agent of the Iranian regime is coming from. He does not act rationally. He does not
He
act in a
he flaunts
humane,
the
moral
prosthetic,
manner.
as
Yeah.
this, like, spoil of war kind of thing.
More importantly, I mean, it's one of my I just have, like, 6 lines written down from the final, like, 20, 15 minutes of this movie, where they basically say, like, "This is how the regime operates. You operate on the assumption that you are either correct and you do the thing and justice is served, or you are not correct and, oh, well, things get sorted out in the afterlife. Things justice is served in heaven." Either way, it
Or,
is
like, it's
a
a religious oriented,
mhm.
determination system
And
too.
a cleaning of the slate for you acting on a in the mortal coil on the mortal plane right now with another human being. Whereas our characters, as Timo said, they are not like these people. They want to do make the right decision and not have to deal with the moral circumstances that would befall that. Whereas all of these agents of the Iranian regime do not behave
Yeah,
that way.
it's not
Even as Ekbal says, like, "Oh, I have all this guilt, all this tortured stuff. I'm so
yeah.
sorry about all
Fuck
this stuff
no,
that
he
I did."
doesn't. No, he doesn't.
No, he
No,
fucking
he fucking
doesn't.
doesn't.
The end of the movie tells us that he doesn't feel that way. So I think that is the line that is drawn between our group of characters who, again, we are hashing out like, are they symbols of individual ideology? Are they like deep fleshed out characters? I think we're missing the forest through the trees here. They are people. They are human beings, normal people who went through horrible circumstances. It is exactly why Panahi cast the film this way. He wants to drive that point home that these are just strangers forced
Mhm.
together under these odd circumstances that have grand moral sort of fallout if they make the wrong decision, if they
Yeah.
follow their instincts and just
Mm,
do the blind thing that they think is correct on first blush, but
yeah.
is it really correct?
Yeah.
My big
And
revelation there was that I was gonna say, the consequences, we kind of have been framing them as like a legal and a societal consequence or a governmental, like that he's going to go rat to the that Ekbal would go rat to the police and then
Hmm.
all these people end up back in jail. Surely that's in their mind, but I think probably it's the moral consequences that are a lot heavier in their brains. What if this guy is
Honestly,
innocent? What
they
if we
yeah.
kill his wife by not assisting her when she's giving birth, like these kind of
or,
things.
They
or
are
even at that point,
yeah.
kill if they kill him, because they know he has a wife and a child and a newborn baby.
Yeah.
How does that then impact them? That weighs in their
Mhm.
mind as well. Of like, you'd be robbing this family, if you kill him, of probably their future. I mean, honestly, because we
Well,
Mhm.
see
we were
how
shown
the
how
society's
patriarchal it is, yeah.
Mhm.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think that that kind of like complication is why I I think that you make an interesting point about the filmmaking indicating that Vahid is basically sure in that moment. Uh, I I read that more as he very confidently believes that on animal instinct, right? Gut feeling that this
Mhm.
is how he's reacting to it as if it is him. And I think the rest of the movie is breaking that down. And the reason why I find the movie's structure and pacing and script to be about that vagueness, about the is it the I guess will he won't he was he is he structure is because they consistently go through. Uh, well, I don't know. It's interesting. I think the structure of the movie is structured that the conversations are our gut feelings, our animal instincts, our in the moment reactions, our senses are not reliable enough. Let's make sure that we get confirmation. Let's make sure that we explore this and discuss it. Uh, and I think that we as a viewer, or at least me as a viewer, uh, I am ingratiated to the characters because they don't go with their animal instincts, because they're willing to get a confirmation and go through the conversation. Uh, but then the movie does a, I don't think complete 180, because was always one of the possible outcomes, but confirms at the end that their gut feeling was right in this scenario. But I do think that the question of the movie, and the reason why I think there's, to your point, dramatic stakes at all, at least as I was watching it, is that those sh- should a smell, should a sound be enough to for you to make a decision to kill someone? And should you explore it further?
Well, let me take it back to something, Tucker, you'd asked me earlier of like what are the ideologies of the characters, and ideology is maybe not the right word. So
Sure.
let me put it in a slightly different way. To me, I hear what you guys are saying, but I think about, and I'm not even really entirely disagreeing, to be honest. There's a line from
It's
Shiva
good
that looms
discussion
large.
regardless.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, there's a line from Shiva that looms large over the second half of the film, and it's where I feel like, again, for me, things really pick up.
Mhm.
I think that it changes a little bit once everybody's together, because we kind of don't have another person to ask, is this Ekbal? I think that the debate could become something closer to what Tanner was saying, which is Shiva has this point of we can't use the tools of our oppressor here.
Right.
You
Yeah,
know,
of course.
we're not here to do the violence that they did onto us. And why I like the end of the film so much is that I think we get this moment where sort of the potential energy becomes kinetic, and
Mm.
perhaps Shiva can hit him with the spade, but only because, as she says, when Vahid says, "Oh, I didn't think you had that in her," she says, "Well, he was gonna kill you." They can't. Neither of
He
them can
was.
kill him.
He was gonna knock.
Yeah.
He was gonna
Hmm.
use his head to smash in Vahid's head.
Right. And so in the final scene, I think there's this sort of beautiful, and why I would actually push back on the idea that the film doesn't have a point of view on what should be done here, is that we sort of see these characters reach this cathartic climax of Ekbal is here and we have him tied up and we can kill him right here. We can strip him naked and kill him and photograph him and
We
show
could
this to
do
his
anything
son.
to him.
We we could do anything to him. And what we did is, to some degree, broke him or made him understand, or and left him in this position of of having to live.
Yeah.
I think that the sort of the most profound thing the film does is forces Ekbal to live and to admit, there's this brilliant moment
The
of
scene is
performance
just
from.
incredible.
Yeah, I mean, it's stunning. As Shiva is grabbing his face and slapping him,
Like
the
really
only
hard.
things you're allowed to say is that you're
Mhm.
stupid. And she can't kill him. Vahid can't kill him, but they can bring him where he brought them,
Right.
and then he has to live with that. I think that's so interesting.
Uh-huh.
And what makes the very end of the film fascinating to me, when Vahid is turned away and just hear the peg leg
Mhm.
walking,
Sound alert.
there is, yeah, it's a
True.
brilliant moment of
Brilliant
sound
sound
design, but
design.
it then also saddles the morality of their decision with this deeper personal context of the paralysis of that noise still. This man gets to walk along, he gets to walk in their society.
Mhm.
And how do they move on from that? And maybe that's the point that the film doesn't have an answer to necessarily. But I
Sure.
think that that the sort of the our characters have this beautiful cathartic moment of getting to the answer in the end of we can't kill him. And him living is
Mhm.
worse than what they could have done by killing him.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have a difference of read on the ending here potentially, because
Yeah.
I think you bring up a lot of good points, but I think Timo and I perhaps mind melded a little bit earlier when I was going on a little bit of a tirade, and I do apologize.
As you're wont to
Where
do.
as I want to
Yeah,
do,
wouldn't be the first time.
um, where he is quote unquote, if I can be a little pat about this, like apologetic, or he has this moral reckoning where he's
I'm
apologizing and
sorry.
everything
I'm
like that.
sorry.
And I think Timo and I, we're on the same page. It's like, that's fucking bullshit. Of course he doesn't feel bad about that.
He lives the
I
good
think
life. He got the iPad daughter.
that's so true.
iPad
I
daughter or
think
newborn son?
I think the ending is an affirmation of that. It is an affirmation of these Vahid and Shiva, like, yeah, they took the moral high road, but at the end of the day, with dealing with people like this, dealing with regimes like this, no good deed goes unpunished. Like that, the ending to me is a threat of like, you thought you did the right thing. You thought you had the high road. You thought you maybe would be safe after this. Maybe there was redemption in store for Ekbal. No, he can and will find you and will seek revenge for what you did to him, and will seize the opportunity of his life to enact more violence on you, enact more fear into your life. That is
Maybe.
what the ending is to me.
I think
I
that
feel like
it's
because they,
both, honestly. Go ahead.
yeah.
Sure.
Well, because the ending doesn't show action. That's all
True.
implication. Everything you said is inference. And the reason
Yes.
I make that point is not to undermine it, but to say that if we look at strictly what's in the text, I think that part of what that scene is doing at the end is it's not necessarily that I think he's had this moment of revelation or of acceptance of what he's done, but I
Mhm.
think that this film is hollowing out the person that is part of the regime because he begins tied to the tree when he thinks it's just Vahid talking about this martyrdom.
Yes,
Either
he's good.
either I get to
I'll be
live and
fine.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, either either I get to live and I'll fucking kill you and everyone you love, or you'll martyr me, and I'm happy either way.
I'll be
Mhm.
a
But then
proud son
Shiva's
of the government. Yeah.
Mhm.
but then Shiva is able to break that, and maybe these despotic regime people aren't actually all that committed to this whole martyrdom thing because
Mhm.
as soon as he's actually about to die, as soon as he might never see his son, well, I don't know, I don't really know if I want to be a martyr
Uh-huh.
now.
Uh-huh.
I think that there's a degree to which, in at least for my viewing of it, he becomes kind of effete. Now, obviously, he's still very dangerous. It doesn't materially change who he is,
Mhm.
but we see his ideology break, and we see.
Sure. Well,
And
yeah,
it's
I guess
there's
I
a
should
very specific
affirm.
interrogation by Shiva about the
Mhm.
ideology, about sending our sons to go die in the name of this god in this war that isn't on our soil. These kind of geopolitical reasons for the dismembering and the upset of that the people feel at their government.
Mhm. I'll just say that there's only one way to interpret art, and the right way is my way. Uh,
Of course, of course.
My
but
way
no,
or the
I think
highway.
you're absolutely right about that ending, and I'll as a caveat, I will add that like the way, especially, hang on, I gotta get the actor's name for Ekbal here. A second, excuse me. Ibrahim Azizi. The way he plays that final moment when Shiva breaks him is very raw and honest and believable. As like, yes, the character has broken. Like this man's hiding behind the trained, ingrained ideas of martyrdom for his government, for his country, have shattered in that moment. But ultimately, I think my reading of the ending hinges on he's easily able to build that back up. Like if you wanted to get maximum effect,
Give him
whatever
14
this may
days and
mean,
then see what
it,
happens.
whatever this may mean, maximum effect, maximum like revenge and catharsis from killing him, that would have been the time to do it. But
What
they don't.
remind me, so the final shot of the movie where we watch Vahid's back and we hear
Mhm.
Ekbal walking behind him, walk up, pause, and then leave. What happens like right before that? I kind of don't remember.
They're packing up
That
the car.
Yeah, they're because but his family is like having some wedding or some family function party or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But you basically go from them cutting his hands free and saying like, the roads like 15 miles from here or whatever, we're letting you go, and then they drive off to
Probably not miles. They probably wouldn't
I
say
think they
miles.
said
they
minutes.
probably well maybe
They
the
did say,
train
they
maybe
did
the
say minutes.
oh they did say minutes. Thank you. 15 minute
I'm just saying they're not in
walk.
America.
Yeah, fair
Yeah.
point. Um translation in subtitles, maybe they would have converted it. Who knows? Anyway,
That's not how that works.
who's to say? Anyway, that is what it means, because we jump right from them cutting his hands free and driving off to Vahid and his family at their family home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
What's the
it's
translation of minutes to the metric system?
minutes,
Kilominutes.
Kilominutes.
the decimal time.
Gigaminutes.
Yeah, I can kill a minute.
I just find this like ending like so chilling. It's so chilling. To,
absolutely
like
is.
listen to
It's
the
the most
footsteps.
tense. Well, to me, actually, it's the footsteps and the back of his head. I think is a great, like filmmaking choice.
Mhm.
Like they hang on that shot for
Well,
it.
yeah,
forever.
yeah.
You have no idea how long it's gonna stand there, and it's also
But I
got
also
this
know
like
it's the final
weird-
shot of the movie. I know that when this shot cuts, this
yeah,
shit is
you can't
over.
do anything past that. Yeah, you can open a whole can of worms if you let that scene continue. But it's this really interesting that shot specifically, the back of Vahid's head, is like Steadicam, but also handheld. It's got like
Yes.
this, like you
There's
can like feel
just
him
a
breathing in the
little bit of
frame,
shake
just like-
to it. Yeah.
and you're like, oh god, what's gonna happen? But the tension actually for me is even before that, of like when he's like, chatting with his aunt and his mom, and they've got like some coffee, and I'm like, I
This
don't like
isn't
this.
normal.
Something's gonna happen.
That
Something's
sounds
gonna
too
happen.
normal.
You don't go from a
We
scene
pan
where
out, there's a
you're
rainbow. The end.
yeah, I'm like no shot. Yeah, so I think that's a really good sequence of events there.
Yeah.
But the tension for me comes before the shot of the back of his head when they're just like packing up a car. I'm like, no, that's not how this kind of movie
Isn't that
ends.
normal?
Yeah, I think part of why I love this scene is because I think it's sort of in dialogue with something that I wanted earlier on in the film, which is just that I think this is where you really feel the challenge of how can you live a normal life after that?
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
because imagine that it's like not even peg leg. Like
Yeah.
obviously that's what the film is saying, but I think what it introduces
Or is it
for me.
again the idea that maybe the senses can't be trusted, and of course he's frozen like that, but we never see. There's no confirmation, right? If the movie's about searching for that confirmation, we never get that confirmation, and it is very much possible that someone else has a thing that makes that kind of noise.
Yeah, it is, but also I just think that like that's the sound we associate with peg leg, like that's his sound. But the point I'm making is just that I think that sequence induces a sense of paranoia. Yeah,
I will say though, I think that either way, I think that's successful in that
sure.
you hear that sound. Yes, that is the sound that we as viewers have been trained over the course of the film, much like Vahid, is to associate with peg leg. But the paranoia works either way. We don't get an answer if it's him or not. They're to your point, within the text of the film, there is no confirmation whether it is him or not. But regardless, anytime he hears anything like that noise, he's going to be scared for the rest of his life because he let him live. And so I think the fact that it is vague can lead to both, right? Within the text of the film, we don't know. If I'm right and the movie is also about the fact that you can't necessarily trust your senses to make a judgment call like that, then even the fact that if it's not him, that's still interesting. What are the implications of that? The fact that he has this trauma, the fact that he let him go, he can't be sure if anytime he hears that noise, if it's him or not. Or as you're saying, the fact that he does hear that noise and it is him, okay, that story goes somewhere. But the vagueness, I think, allows for both of those readings to be taken.
True.
We've reached the end of
True
the
and
movie.
balanced.
We did nice and chronological on this one.
Yeah. Well, yeah. No, I feel like we skipped over a lot of the meat in the middle, a lot of the argumentation over this stuff. I mean, because I do think that there's just great stuff to be found in there. Like obviously all the transactions and the gifts and everything feels like a very jaded depiction of like the needling economic state of Iran at this point, coming from someone who is quite familiar with it. Just because even us coming from an American perspective see these things happen, you're like, are you fucking kidding me? Like we live in a tip culture. Let's not get it twisted or anything.
I went to this stupid. Oh my god! I went to this. I didn't know this. I'm driving around. I pull up to the gas station. I didn't know I pull up to the full service island, and now I gotta tip the man. I gotta pay more money for the
I
same
I
thing
don't
that
want
I
to sound
normally would
like
have
Steve
to.
Buscemi in Reservoir Dogs. I don't want to sound like Mr. Pink. But even again, I have to return to the hit of the cop being like, I have a card terminal, but it happens. Let's see. I tried to write down every
All the
time that it
bribes.
happened. Yeah, it happens first with like the street performers, and then the cops. There's the gas station attendant, and then it happens twice in the hospital. With
Which is
him
in
like
the hospital, it's very formalized. You need to
yes,
have the right pastries for the birth, and you need to give the, what do they call that? Oh, why am I blanking on the name? The midwife, that's the name. A
hmm
tip, a gift for successfully delivering the baby.
You
yes.
don't know how good a
Imagine,
wife she is.
imagine if she doesn't successfully deliver the baby. Do you only give like half as much or what?
I don't
I do
know.
kind of feel like if you're going to tip for a service, that's a good service to tip for.
Yeah. Out of all the possible ones in this wide world.
hmm let's see here. Oh, I just have like lines in here that I wrote down. Now having being able to rewatch it and like pick out lines and write them down as they happen. I think this is just from that standpoint, from the dialogue writing standpoint of the screenplay, quite excellent. Not just, I mean, the structure of it is also quite elegant and propulsive too. But a lot of stuff that Hamid says is just like rocket fuel. A lot of the times, he's the root of evil. He believes body and soul in the hell he wants to send us to.
Yeah. Yeah,
Let's
it's
see.
some really fiery stuff.
I just have a couple more from the ending scene. Um, the one I wanted the one that Shiva says is fucking the gif of the pen on fire writing on paper. It's the You said my voice will etch the walls of the prison, now yours will etch the earth.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Goes hard, goes
Goes
hard.
dummy hard.
hmm Um, because I mentioned it earlier, again, unfortunately, nothing in this conversation allowed me to illuminate or crack this egg open in my mind. The stray dog thing,
I was thinking
I
about
do
that.
want to return
I was,
to.
we were talking about animal instinct versus
Yeah,
rational
that's
thought.
something
That was,
that maybe.
but I was like, there's the real striking imagery is that when Vahid and Shiva get to the tree towards
Yeah.
the end of the movie, and like the first thing we see is this dog that like stops. It's kind of got a menacing look. It doesn't. It's very
hmm
unfriendly looking, just the way it's
Yeah, it's a
composed and
freaky demon dog.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
I don't want this
It's
dog
kind of
to
like
stick around.
hairless. Yeah.
I'm like, you know,
And it's in like the red lights of the parked car, so it's
Right.
like
Right.
kind
Right.
of got this weird hellish glow to it.
demon
Yeah.
dog. Yeah,
But it happens
Yeah.
there. Obviously,
runs
Iqbal
over the
hits
dog.
the stray dog at the very beginning,
They're like a
and
pretty omnipresent part of the background sound effects. They just
a lot of
fill
the
our
time,
world.
yes,
Kind of gives me this feeling of we're never like truly alone in any of these spaces. Like we go far to the outskirts of the city, but if you do something loud enough, you're gonna set off all the dogs.
yeah. The third one, or I guess the second one in chronological order, but the one that really tipped me off to, oh, this is a thing, because it happened so close in sequence, is when Vahid is sort of trailing Ekbal, and he follows him to that garage where his car gets towed to, when he's really like stalking him. In the foreground of him sitting on that street parked is a stray dog, just kind of like standing in the middle of the street, and all the cars are like honking at it as they drive past it. So it's just like, this is something, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I think, yes, our conversation about animal instinct and the dehumanization of the Iranian prisoners by the regime, by the prison guards, by the torturers, I think is something there as well. The flippant nature in which Ekbal just brushes off the fact that he just killed a dog. Uh, yeah,
Yeah,
at the very
it's like
beginning
in
of the film.
retrospect, you're like, something up with this guy.
hmm hmm
Yeah, I think there's people that notice the strays and people who don't. And Akbol is a person who doesn't. And
Yeah.
and I just connect it back to my reading from the beginning of, the death of the dog is something that can be justified in the
Explained
context.
away. Yeah,
hmm
Yeah.
it's acceptable to do if it is not your fault or whatever.
Yeah. Anything else, gentlemen, or are we done? I'm looking through my notes here.
I feel pretty good. I mean, I think that like the end of the movie is this like it's our clinch hitter who comes in and just like
Yeah.
knocks all the rest of the bits of the movie out of the park. It's kind of a snowballing film. I'm not very, to be honest, like I wasn't terribly interested in it at the start. It's
Hmm.
slow and it builds and it builds and we pick up steam and we add mass to it and we move faster and faster and faster as we reach the end, and that's where then I think it just becomes this. Honestly, it's a momentous achievement of a movie, really. By the time we get to the end,
Sure. Sure.
put that on the poster, Jafar.
A momentous achievement of a film. Wow.
Yeah, you know what? That does seem like one of those things. There's like, like the Brutalist trailer, and it would just be like a momentous achievement. Ba, 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 ba. And I would sit there and be like, I would sit there in the theater. I would see that trailer, like, no one said that.
No one said that.
No, what
that's usually how I feel.
Is...
I see those things. I'm like, bullshit. No.
What do they call those? Like the pull, they call them pull line or pull quotes. They call them pull quotes. Yeah. It's real pull quote hunting to say that about any movie.
Yeah.
What was the
details?
one movie where they like had like a character like covering a word from a quote, so it made it look like
It's
it
a
was
Legend.
good?
It's a poster for Legend, and the Guardian gave Legend 2 out of 5 stars, but they put the 2 stars between the 2 Tom Hardy, so it looks like there's more stars under them.
Because what it is it's just a poster full of like star ratings that are all like 4 and 5s or whatever, and they put the 2 between there. Pretty clever. You know what? Pretty clever.
Whoever was on Photoshop that day must have just been with the pen right in fire.
You, if they just had like the 2 stars like on the bottom, we wouldn't be talking about that.
You wouldn't.
No.
Oh yeah. No, never.
Always lie.
Lasting.
That's right.
Cultural impact.
Obfuscate the truth. Always.
Yeah.
What we learned here from this movie.
Yeah.
Okay. I can give us some palm details here.
Yeah.
If we
Who
want,
awarded this
we give
movie the grand prize?
Yes, so we're going to know a lot of these jury members and films in competition from this year, so I'll go through them here.
Are all movies from this year.
Exactly. At the 2025 Cannes Film Festival, the jury president was French actress Juliette Binoche.
Okay. Sure.
Other
in front of the show, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so.
I'm not sure.
Am I English patient? Am I getting the right actor?
Is that Binoche? Is that Binoche?
That's a pull and a half if you get this one right.
Binoche, she's a French actress. She was in The English Patient. Yes.
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
Well done.
Very good.
Okay. Other members of the jury included South Korean filmmaker Hong Sang-soo, Indian filmmaker Payal Kapadia, and American actors Halle Berry and Jeremy Strong were on the jury this year.
Okay.
Oh.
Of the 21 other films in competition, we do have quite a few notable entries, some of which we will likely be.
Wait, hold on. Did Catwoman win the Palme d'Or? Are we gonna get to that?
I don't think Catwoman won. I don't. Well, you know what? It was in competition, but unfortunately got steamrolled in 2004 by Fahrenheit 9/11. 21 films in competition that did not win in competition with It Was Just an Accident. We'll be talking about a few of these in the coming weeks/months.
Probably.
But in order, alphabetical order.
I want to keep us like legally.
Legally clear.
The Academy's gonna sue our asses when we get this
wrong. In Minecraft.
A very normal movie that has a normal distribution strategy. Julia Ducournau's Alpha was in competition this year. Die My... What? What'd you say?
Yeah, Titan.
Ducournau?
Yeah, the show. Die My Love by Lynn Ramsey was in competition. Eddington, Ari Aster's Eddington was in competition this year. Kelly Reichardt's...
Really?
Rise Up, Super Magic Car, Golden Freaks or whatever.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, jeez.
Kelly Reichardt's The Mastermind, Richard Linklater's Nouvelle Vague, Wes Anderson's The Phoenician Scheme. Yes, of course. Resurrection by Be Gone. The Secret Agent by Kleber Mendoza Filho, which we will probably be talking about, I would assume. And another one.
That's a wait until the nominees, though, right?
That's a wait until the nominees. It's in that 7 to 10 range, I would say. And Sentimental Value by Joachim Trier was in competition this year. That one is we will definitely be.
We will definitely watch that. Yeah. Well, fun. Thanks for talking about this one. We got to score it.
Yes.
I almost rambled right into having that.
I know. We gotta.
Oh, he punched it in already. Everybody
Okay,
go.
go,
It's
go, go.
Oh, wait, I need to do the tab. Okay, wait, okay.
Oh. I was shot in the chest by Abrams' score. We got a score here. It's 8.1. The cat that,
Do
pigs,
better next time,
pigs
Abram.
got out of the barn a little quick on that one, but the 8.1.
What?
That classic saying.
Don't you know that's what you
That's a Minnesota saying.
Yeah, when someone's fly is down, you go, pigs are getting out of the barn, and then you start counting. You just count really fast because then they're supposed
How
to
many
eat.
penises?
I know cows.
Oh, nope, and it's pigs in my mind.
Wait, hold on. Why are you counting? How many?
Well, it's to
seconds it
count
takes for
how
them to zip
many
up?
pigs escape before they can, close the barn doors, so to speak.
It's just a little fun joke.
What about
Pull this one on your bros.
if the bird cage is open, the pigeon must be dead.
I don't know.
You have a license to sell hot dogs?
What? Okay.
These are all XYZ PDQs.
Timo, what did we give this movie?
8.1 on aggregate.
Yes.
Point breakdown is Abram gave it a 6, Tanner gave it 8.5, and then Tucker and I gave it a 9.0. So 8.1 is the score. We have some ties to litigate here.
Yes.
The first one we're going to be thinking about is Amour.
Oh, Michel Haneke's Amour.
Yep.
I will go.
Michael
It was just an
Haneke.
accident above.
Me too.
Me 3. I think it was better. Okay.
Yeah, I don't really care. Amour is fucking miserable.
Yeah, I mean that's a tough. That's
It's a great movie.
tough
It's a
set.
miserable
It's a tough
watch.
set. Then
Barton Fink is also at 8.1. So what do we think?
More like fart and stink. Just kidding. I really like this movie. I will go Barton Fink above. It was just an accident.
I will go. It was just an accident.
I think I'm happy how it sits. I'll put it was just an accident below Barton Fink.
I would agree.
Fond memories.
It's
of that
really
one.
unfortunate that I love the movie Barton Fink because I love saying more like fart and stink. I love saying it.
Tanner, maybe in 10 years you'll really hate it.
Hopefully, so that I can make that joke in better faith.
Hopefully.
Well, that is gonna do it.
Bad faith fart humor.
It was just an accident with an intentional placement of spot number 23 on the Quest list of best Palme d'Or winners. I guess it is best.
Oh yeah,
because
man.
it's best to worst in ascending order.
So it's also number 1 on our 2025 Best Picture ranking, Best Picture nominee ranking.
True. That is true. Well, we are gonna be back with some more Best Picture nominees. We're gonna, Tanner, our sage, will have an answer for us of which one we're gonna watch next. We will not be revealing that in this episode, though, so just keep it tuned.
Whoa, secret.
It's a secret.
Secret.
It's a secret. But it's gonna be a nominee. You know that, so you can apply the right filters to your brain.
Hey, maybe browse the listings at your local Cinemaplex in the coming weeks and see if there's a certain film that may be hitting the market. With
in like on a particular birthday.
Primate.
Primate. That's right, folks.
Anaconda.
No, I mean it's a movie with a marketing cycle that people are being really normal and chill about.
Why don't you just stop if it's going to be a surprise?
It's going to be a surprise.
It's Marty Supreme. I'm so excited.
Marty Supreme Christmas Day. Marty Supreme Christmas Day. Marty Supreme Christmas Day. Marty Supreme Christmas Day.
I will have seen the movie at least 2 times by the time people see that video on Marty Supreme. At least 2. I'm going to say 2. I don't think I'll go 3 times, but 2 for sure.
That's how many people play ping pong. So,
it's true.
You can do doubles ping pong, can't you?
That's a lot. I mean,
maybe.
You gotta get a bigger table,
I don't know.
Sir.
I haven't seen the movie yet. I'll find out when I watch it. Alrighty, Marty Supreme up next. We're gonna work through all the nominees, presumptive or otherwise, and I don't got a lot more to say. So we'll see you next time. Stay cool, keep warm. Peace.